Hey guys, welcome back to the Music Hole. My name is Cole, and today I'm very excited because we're talking about the 2018 album by Daughters, You Won't Get What You Want. And it's just a really unique experience. It's kind of like, it's very cinematic. I would describe it as kind of like a horror movie in the form of an album. So I really actually have to have a disclaimer for this album. It's really loud, it's really intense, it's pretty hardcore stuff. So it might not be for everybody, but I would encourage you to at least check it out once because it is really different. And I'll talk about that with some of my clips. So I'm just very excited to talk about it, and I hope you guys find it interesting. So as always, let's dive right in. Track 1 is called City Song. Oh my goodness, yeah. I mean, the atmosphere is just so depressing on this album. And I love the drum work in the beginning because it kind of makes me think of like a fast heartbeat, because he's talking about the city's an empty glass, words do nothing, as in words do nothing to describe like this hellhole, I guess. So the music has to do it. So it kind of feels like this guy's heart is racing all the time because he's always paranoid, he's always on edge in this awful city, which may or may not be a dystopia, we don't know exactly. But this guy is clearly not enjoying his current surroundings, so this poor guy. But yeah, I actually do have another clip from this song, which has to do with a different kind of sounding part of the song, as well as some lyrics. I just thought it sounded really, really interesting, so I wanted to share it with you guys. So let's check it out. Again, just the sounds on this album perfectly capture that uneasy, paranoid, horrific, dystopian feeling, that the lyrics are referring to. And on this clip, especially, like the sounds are just totally chaotic and make you feel really uneasy. But it sounds like the first track of this album is the end of the story, which we're about to get into with the rest of the songs. Because as he says, the fires are out, the water sits still. So I'm inferring from that basically like City Song is the end of the story, and now the rest of the album is going to tell us what happened. But that City Song, it's a really unique beginning. It's like a minute of that really fast heartbeat drum sound, and then it explodes on this clip that I just played. So it's a really interesting, it's a really different beginning. I like it a lot. But that's all I have to say about it. So let's move on to track 2, which is one of my favorites from this album for sure. It's called Long Road, No Turns.
Everybody cries about and falls so far, and I don't know what to
I just absolutely love this song. I mean, it's just, like I mentioned, it's the perfect sound to capture that paranoid, depressing, no hope, there's no hope left kind of feeling that this album is going for. This is probably the best song on the album, in my opinion. But I like these lyrics a lot because they're getting deep. They're going deep, with some philosophy. Because he's talking about, like, no matter how successful you are, no matter how high you climb, as he says, all it takes is an unexpected push in the right direction to just ruin your life. And if you think about it, I mean, literally everyone's life is only normal because they're not doing a million things that would end their life. So, like, let's say, for example, you're living your life and you're happy and you've got a girlfriend and you make a lot of money, you've got a good job. But let's say you're at a party and for some reason you're drunk and somebody offers you some kind of hard drug like cocaine, and it's just the spur of the moment. Maybe you try it because you're a little wasted and you're not quite there. Well, a moment like that could very easily just screw up your whole life and turn you into a coke addict, and then you can imagine where that goes from there. So I like how he's saying that, like, no matter what type of person you are, no matter how successful you are, it's little unexpected things that can always creep up and just ruin your life. I like that quite a bit. And again, the song is just really memorable. I just love the guitar sound on this song, especially. Great song. But that's track 2. So let's move on to another favorite of mine from this album, which is called Satan in the Wait. So Satan in the Wait is an interesting song because he's talking about a guy, just as an example, he's talking about a guy who's really, really ugly. He says he's got a face that only a mother can love. And he alludes to, like, moments in this character's life where, he's looked down upon because he's ugly and he's not very popular. And there's all these things bringing this guy down. And because this guy feels so down, he's more inclined to, be hateful, to despise people, to be angry, right? So Satan is waiting for this guy to make the wrong move, per se, and be damned, right? So this guy, he feels unloved, he feels alone. And a lot of people in that position, they turn towards causes, right? Because at least when you join a cause, especially like a hateful cause, there's a camaraderie there, and you feel like you belong somewhere finally. So it sounds like we're talking about a character who just wants to belong, he wants to feel important, he wants to feel loved, and so Satan is waiting for this guy to go in the wrong direction, to join a hate group or something, to be a terrorist or something. We're not sure exactly what. It doesn't really matter. It could even just be a murderer. Who knows? So I like this song quite a bit. It's got a really unique sound to it as well. It's probably my second favorite song on the album. But that's all I want to say about it. So let's move on to track 4, which is called The Flammable Man.
I don't lie, 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 I don't lie. Work at night for a good time. I don't live, 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 I don't live to the ocean anymore. But I fear that the tide will turn.
Yeah, so the Flammable Man, I would imagine, is the same character from her previous song who's just losing it. You know, he's kind of going insane a little bit. You know, he lies awake at night, but not because, or he stays up late at night, not because he's having a good time, but because he's having trouble sleeping. He's really anxious. You know, he's probably having suicidal thoughts even. And as he says, I love this line, I don't live near the ocean anymore out of fear that the tide will turn. So, you know, most people would, most people's dream is to live by the ocean, right? It's so beautiful with the sunset and everything. But this guy is thinking about everything in the most negative way possible. So, like, if someone offered this guy a beach house, his immediate thought isn't, oh, that's awesome, you know, great views, I love swimming. His immediate thought is he's scared that the tide will turn. So he's just having really, really negative thoughts. He's not doing very well. And Satan is waiting, as we said earlier. So this poor guy. But that's all I have to say about this song. It's fairly short. It's a really intense sounding song. It's kind of challenging, but I like it. So the next song is called The Lord's Song. Yeah, so the Lord's Song, this is kind of interesting because our character here appears to enjoy being pitied, right? He says he cries because he wants to. And so maybe he's a bit of a masochist, like maybe like one way that he copes with being really ugly and poor or whatever it is exactly that is, you know, ruining his life. He kind of enjoys that. He just enjoys being pitied. Like, I mean, this is definitely a thing. There are definitely people who, like for example, there are those people who one up other people, right? So you're at a party and somebody says, oh, I had this terrible week, you know, this and that happened. But then the guy in the song then says, oh, you think that was bad? Like, this is what happened to me and it was way worse, you know those kinds of people. So it sounds like this guy is just wallowing in his pity, and he kind of likes it in a weird, twisted way. So, yeah, I don't know. This guy is kind of losing it, and he needs a lot of help. So, you know, crossing my fingers. But that's all I have to say about the Lord's Song. You know, again, I would say that this song and the last song are probably the two most challenging songs sonically. They're pretty wild, but I do like them. But that's the Lord's Song. So let's move on to track 6, which is called Less Sex.
I let it into my bed. I let it into my bed. Let a long way down. I gave it complete control. I gave it complete control. Led a long way down. Led a long way down.
Yeah, oh no, our poor guy, he's just completely given up, right? He gave it complete control, as he says. But let's be honest, it's pretty hard to have all of these negative things going on in your life. You know, like it sounds like nobody really likes him. He's probably struggling financially. He's probably not a hit with the ladies, you know, because we mentioned he's ugly in an earlier song. It sounds like where he lives isn't the greatest. So like, it's really hard to maintain a positive attitude when there's so much going on in your life that really is not the best, right? So this guy, I mean, he's given in. He's probably very hateful, very spiteful. The only way that he was able to cope, as we mentioned in the previous song, was by like wallowing in his pity, by just like being kind of a masochist, right? Because if most of your life involves a lot of pain, then being a masochist is one way to like counter that, I guess, if that makes any sense. But this is a pretty unique sounding song of this record. It's got a different vibe from the rest of the songs, so I like that. But that's Less Sex. So let's move on to track 7, which is called Daughter. The name of the band, but singular. Let's check it out. Our poor guy, oh my goodness. So he clearly has nothing left to live for as far as he's concerned. Like, he's ready to kill himself, essentially. I mean, he's not going to do it, but he feels like he's willing to just give up his life, you know. He's just so rock bottom at the moment that he doesn't cherish his life. And that's the perfect kind of person that groups like hate groups target. You know, they want people that they can manipulate. They want people who feel unloved, who want camaraderie. You know, all these hateful groups thrive on people like that. People with mental struggles, people who don't feel accepted, and all these things. So it sounds like this guy is very possibly turning into one of those people. So, you know, geez Louise, I hope he doesn't turn to the dark side, but he's definitely almost there. You know, if not so already. But that's Daughter. That's all I want to say about it. So let's move on to track 8, which is another favorite of mine. It's called The Reason They Hate Me.
Don't tell me how to do my job. Carry on like a son of a bitch. They got an aim for people like you. I didn't take the time to write it down though. You have a lot of fun playing crab ass with the boys. Which one's gonna get you right home? Which one's gonna walk you to the door? Wonder which one's gonna call? Maybe the sun waits for you to be shown what to do.
Yeah, my goodness. So our guy has clearly bottled up so many feelings inside himself that, he has all these negative thoughts. He hates the people around him. He's filled with hate, as we've mentioned. And it sounds like on the song, he's unleashing all of his frustrations on the people around him, right? It sounds like it's very possible that he's confronting all these people that just really tick him off, right? As they say. So yeah, he's he's had enough. He's got nothing left to live for, as we established. So if he's got nothing left to live for, then he's not going to take anyone's BS anymore. He's going to call you out, and I think this ties perfectly into one of the previous songs. I forget which one it was called, but in a previous song we mentioned that all it takes is just a little event, a little moment to change the course of your life. So for this character, that moment was in the song when he finally confronted these people about all the things that annoy him and tick him off. So he's finally he's triggered that moment that is going to alter the course of his life forever, it sounds like. So I like how it ties into that, But that's all I want to say about this song. It's another really wild song. But let's move on to track number 9, which is called Ocean Song.
Paul eases into the driveway and kills the engine, sits for a spell, staring out the windshield. Down the hood to the stall garage door. Nothing ever works around here, he says to himself. The ignition bursts the keys into his head. He opens the door. The world is suddenly different. He senses something terrible awaiting, a loose thread, a worsening. And in a moment he turns to the sky. He notices it's darker now than it used to be. It's darker now, this hour, than it was last week. Within or beyond himself, a force more primal is urging him to go.
So Ocean Song is a key moment on this album because it sounds like he confronted the people who were annoying him in a previous song. He unleashed all of his thoughts on them, which they probably were not happy about. But he's driven home, right? And he's at home, and it feels like the world is different, as he says. There's like a dark cloud overhead. Because he feels empowered now. Like he's shown the ability to stand up for himself, even if what he actually did is probably wasn't a good idea. But he's terrified of what this might mean for his future. He's thinking about it, and he's like, well, I already did this one thing. I confronted all my coworkers. What else am I capable of? The world is different now. It feels different for him because he's not just a passive guy anymore. So he's worried about it to some degree, which is good. So don't go too crazy, guy, whatever your name is, you know. Try to calm down a little bit, you know. So we'll see. But that's Ocean Song. It's another really interesting sounding song. But that's all I want to say about it. So let's move on to the last clip that I have for you guys from the last song, which is called Guest House. So let's check it out. Yeah, our poor hero has finally crossed over to the dark side, because as he says on the song, you know, who locked the door, who bent the key, he's knock, knock, knocking, saying, please let me in. So I interpret that as this guy, the goodness within this guy has been locked away, you know, is forever lost. This guy has crossed over to the dark side, and we're not sure exactly where he goes from here, considering it's the last song. But you can imagine any number of awful things this guy might have done after the album. You know, maybe he like shot up his workplace, right? So this poor guy, he just got he got the short stick in life, and he couldn't handle it. You know, he didn't have the mental strength to get through it and to just deal with it and just accept that, you know, he's not beautiful, he's not rich, he's not powerful, he's not loved by all these women or whatever we're talking about, right? So this poor guy, he wasn't able to do it. He's crossed over. But that's Daughters. That's You Won't Get What You Want, which of course is a great title considering what this album is about. You know, this guy didn't get what he wanted, that's for sure. That's all I have to say about it. I mean, again, it's just like, it's like a horror movie, but in an album form. You know, it's just a really unique experience. And it really is just an experience. Like, you know, a lot of albums, in my opinion anyway, you know, they might have a mood and they might have a theme, but very few albums are like a complete experience. You know, and just like sonically speaking, I think they perfected the vibe that they're going for. But anyway, that's all I have to say about this album. I just hope you guys thought it was interesting or liked it, you know. And as always, feel free to comment on it. You know, was it too intense? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Do you think our guy's gonna pull through and come back from the dark side? You know. Who knows? Whatever you want to say, I'll check it out. And if you like the video, please like and subscribe. It'd really help out. But yeah, that's Daughters, so check them out and have a good one.